Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. A really cool episode today. Love the fact that you got to meet some Caniacs, that they got to meet you, which is really cool. I think hopefully it sounded like everybody was having a good time.
Well, Brad, we had been talking about having a round table for a long time, and we didn't imagine it would be like this, and we didn't imagine that the weather would be like this. We'd be doing it all in Calgary. Brad, I am very excited to be here with all of our guests, and some of them who've been with us before and others who have not, but we're very, very excited to have them aboard. I'm going to get everyone to just introduce themselves around the table, starting over here, and we'll just make our way all the way around. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Toy, and I'm originally from New York. And New York, my New York accent. And I didn't grow up watching sports at all in New York until I came down to North Carolina. And then I met Shannon, and she got me into the Canes in 2019. That's how I became a Caniac.
Fantastic. Up next.
Hi, I'm Marianne. I'm actually from South Carolina.
Okay.
So it takes me about 4.5 hours to get to Raleigh each way. So that's why I like to go to away games.
Nice.
But yeah, I've been a hockey fan since COVID, really.
Wow.
That got me into hockey. So
That's great. That's great. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Shannon, and I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. I grew up there, one of the few people. And growing up in Raleigh, football and basketball, not hockey. And someone gave me free tickets in 2001, and I was hooked.
Awesome. Go ahead.
I'm LJ Camponi. I born in Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan. I live in Airdrie, which is just north of Calgary. I've been a Whaler fan / Caniac since back in the early 90s when my second cousin Jess Sanderson played for the Whalers, and I happen to live in a small town where one of the few stations we got was Sports Channel New England, which was the Whalers' home broadcast. So I became a fan, and been one ever since, and experienced some pretty amazing moments with the franchise, including the Stanley Cup back in 2006, and I'm a fan to this day.
And I have to say, LJ's of course been with us here before on the show. He's joining us for the round table, but he brings another guest with him as well, young Carter, wearing an absolutely glorious Whalers jacket, beautiful green. Very glad to have you here, Carter, joining us. And you're going to the game tonight too, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. And then one other stranger joins us.
Well, yeah.
One of my closest friends on the planet. Not a Caniac, but still, he's a jerk. But we won't hold that against him.
Yeah, look, you don't have to sugarcoat it. I'm not one of you jerks, okay? I know this is a Caniacs broadcast, and I could care less because you guys haven't been around long enough. I'm a Flames fan. I've been a Flames fan.
When's the last time you won a cup?
I don't remember. I'm not quite. I watched the whole season, right? Not just the second season. I actually started off as a Montreal fan because it's a family thing. I'm French Canadian, so I was a Montreal fan just because that's what you grow up with. You kind of have to be, or you're going to get whooped with a piece of a willow tree or something. Moved to BC, kind of got into Caniacs, but then when I came to Calgary, I thought I was here and I couldn't talk to anybody, right? Because everyone's a Flames fan. Everyone's talking Flames. Everyone's like, I got so tired, I thought I got to switch. So I switched the year after, or the year that Montreal beat Calgary. What a terrible time to switch, but that's, yeah.
86, right?
I don't remember the year.
I think it was 86.
My memory's fading at this age.
It's fading so much we didn't even get your name.
Sean, I said Sean right from the start.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I was interrupting you and not listening to you.
Yeah.
Like the jerk that I am. So here we are. We're all getting ready for a big game tonight here in the Saddle Dome, which is less than a kilometer away, not too far a walk. And we just thought it would be a great opportunity to talk with some fans who do a lot of traveling, who have seen and went everywhere with the Canes, watched them on the road. It's tough when you feel, I gotta say, sometimes you go into these arenas and you feel like Custer. You know what I mean? Like you're the only person there and everyone around you is against you, and it's tough to stand up and cheer sometimes. Now, Sean knows because he's come with me to all of these Flames games, and I stand up no matter what and raise heck, and we have a good time with it. And then they all turn around and give it right back to me when the Flames score. So it's one of those experiences. But let's talk about where we've been. Shannon, I'm stunned and ridiculously jealous of you because you by far have us all beat as to where you have seen the Hurricanes. Give us your story. Tell us all about it.
So tonight's game will make Arena 18 that I've seen the Canes in.
Wow.
And I'm going to Vancouver, so that'll be 19. And I'm going to the Blackhawks game in November, so that'll be 20. So I want to get all 32 done. And you know, the funny thing is, before last year around this time, I'd only been to 3 arenas.
Wow.
So, yeah. One of my best friends lives in Nashville, so I would go to Nashville and watch the Canes play there. And then, you know, with COVID, it made traveling really, I love to travel and I love adventure, and I travel overseas a lot, but it's made it really difficult. So like last year for a vacation, we decided to do the West Coast road trip. So we went to Vegas, Anaheim, LA, San Jose, and Seattle. And we just had so much fun. We were like, anytime we find an away game now, we just go.
I'm only 5 less than her.
Wow.
So
Boy,
including tonight and Edmonton will be 14, and then when we go to Chicago will be 15.
Jealous of you both. This is fantastic. And Marianne, how many for you?
I think I'm about 5 or 6 now.
5 or 6 now, yeah. And so you're ahead of both LJ and I. I've only been to 4. Of course, Alberta, I've seen them, and I got a chance to see them in the Holy Land. To me, that's Raleigh doesn't count as a away game, right? You don't feel like it's nice to be able to stand up with the majority of people when they win, right? I mean, that's. But the other one I saw was in Toronto, Canada's center of the universe. What some people say about the NHL. LJ, you where were all yours again? You had a couple, right?
Yeah, so I've been to a game in Arizona, which was quite the experience because it's just not really a hockey town. Though I have to say I'd be kind of interested in going now that it's only holds like 5,000 seats.
Yeah,
so that'd be kind of cool.
So
before it was.
So you went to Arizona with 4 of your friends, and you were
buddies,
the only ones there.
Right. Well, almost. It seemed that way, right?
Yeah.
There's no atmosphere at all.
We went to the Arizona game this last year after Colorado.
Pretty lousy there, but
Lots of you could space out, right? Yeah. Be comfortable, sit where you like, kind of thing.
Well, there was actually a lot of Canes fans when we went to Arizona because the season ticket member trip was to Denver like 2 days before. So a lot of people that went out, you know, while you're out there and it was going to be the last time playing there, they went to. So there may have been more Hurricanes fans than Coyotes fans.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's nice to feel like you're the home team when you're away from home. I suppose that's the way to do things. You said 2001 is when Shannon started. What have you noticed over the years watching these games and stuff? And I'm talking about the growth of the team and the number of fans and your interactions and so forth. How are you received in other rinks? What's your take? Have you noticed there's an ebb and flow with how things go? We'll start with Shannon, and then we'll go to Toy and Marianne. Everyone can chime in.
Well, I mean, I can say, like, growing up in Raleigh, like, the change in Raleigh, like, even when we had, you know, obviously, in 2002, we went to the finals, and it was, everybody was hockey crazy for, you know, a little bit, and then we, not so great. Then 2006, everybody's crazy again. And then, you know, 2009 was good, and then we had the long, dry years.
The dark days.
Before Rod.
But outside of that, though, even there's so many kids now that play hockey in Raleigh. Like, there's so many junior teams, and like And now we have like all the players, their kids are on the junior teams, and like, you know, we have like a new what's it called, the Invisalign Arena now. It's got 2 rinks in there. So just seeing that change, and you know, you see now like banners up in the streets. I live downtown Raleigh, and I go for runs, and I pretty much always see at least one person with something Hurricanes on now, like any day of the week, which is, you know, a big change, which is nice. And then in away arenas, I personally haven't had really any bad experiences. Most fans are pretty good natured to us. We did, Ann and I went to see Canes play Boston in the playoffs, and that was a little intimidating for but you know, we were warned, but everybody was pretty nice to us. Like the person sitting next to me wanted to take pictures with me to prove that they met a Hurricanes fan.
Like we didn't know, like we don't exist or something.
Well, then I really like braved like going into like, you know, enemy territory. That was pretty icy, because I was sitting I thought I was sitting with her and her sister, and it turns out where the players came out onto the ice was between us, so I was sitting all by myself with like a line of Boston people.
I'm gonna guess that, like, I'm not surprised about your experience in Boston. I'm assuming you've never been to a game in Philadelphia.
Not yet.
Then you will experience.
I have been to Madison Square Gardens too.
That would be close. Yeah, Philly.
And
really
I did
bad.
talk a Rangers fan into giving me his cookies, so I'm like pretty good at making friends.
Our experience with Boston, I thought we were gonna experience that with Rangers. But actually, they were really nice about it. The Rangers fans, they weren't mean or anything. I've experienced like all the arenas that we went to. They weren't like mean or anything like that. They may say, "Boo, sit down," or something like that.
Sure.
But
now, when you did you go to the Rangers playoff games last year?
We went to the game that the Hurricanes clinched the division title. Against the Rangers. Yeah.
Even better.
Yes,
we
did.
walk proud out of MSG there, hey?
Yes.
and no chirping.
I mean, occasionally we were like, because I didn't realize when you walk into Madison Square Gardens, all the players, because they walk there, so that people are hanging out waiting for the players to walk from their houses to, you know, to say hi or whatever, get autographed. Yeah. So I'm like walking with my Hurricane stuff on, back ready from the hotel, and people started.
Of course, on the streets,
they're on the streets, started like,
but not like, not in the
it was all
arena,
like good natured. I haven't really had anybody
here. And these are the salt and pepper, and those are the Greek. You want to pass those down?
Perfect. And we are, and let me say this: we are here at Nina's restaurant in Calgary on the Red Mile. Oddly enough, and I don't know if you're here to Calgary for the first time. 17th Avenue, just out front, is the Red Mile, which was named that during the. Was it against Tampa Bay?
Let's not talk about Tampa Bay, all right?
No, we don't want to talk about Tampa Bay for Flames fans.
It was in.
It was in. I'm totally with you. Tampa didn't deserve that one, but there you go.
Even though bacon.
And so Nina's has been very great in welcoming us in, and we got great meals. So we want to thank them for the time and the space that they're giving, allowing us to kind of take over this corner of the restaurant and enjoy. So we're still getting our meals, getting ready, fueled up for the game to start cheering our faces off. So we're looking forward to that. Now, when we talk about the games and the experiences and so forth, Shannon, you mentioned something unique in how things have changed. Now you can't walk down the street in Raleigh without seeing. And do you think do you think that ebb and flow problem that the team had in Raleigh is gone for good? Like, is it solidified now? I always, just from the outside looking in, I always thought that the Hurricanes did something in the triangle that would never be experienced, and that is getting Duke, UNC, and NC State fans all cheering for the same thing. I never thought that would happen. I had seen it before, and it was like, how is this possible? It's brought everyone together. Is that what you're seeing?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think this is the 25th anniversary of the Hurricanes being in Raleigh, and I don't know if you saw the little promo video or whatever that the Hurricanes put out when it was like basically a kid, going to his first game when they just started 25 years ago, and now he's grown up and he's taking his kids to the game. So I think you have like more of that generational stuff that more traditional markets have had. Like I grew up a football fan because that's what my family did, but now you have people that they're growing up with hockey as just being part of their lives. So I think there's that. And I also think like it's just a good market. I mean, we love sports, we love tailgating, having fun. And I think, like, if you look at the Stadium Series, like, how fast those tickets sold, like, they sold faster than any other Stadium Series tickets have sold. And it's just, I mean, people calling me, is there any way you can get me tickets? It's just like, but I think, like, everybody can be a bit fair weather. And so if you go on another 10-year playoff drought, things could go south. So, hopefully having such many years of success right now in a row, I think season ticket members went from 5,000 when Dunston took over, and there's now 14,000 season ticket holders.
So we can compare a little bit because we have a fan who's lived in Calgary for a while, a long time, and so when you look at let's get Sean in on this. I don't want him to feel left out.
Don't worry. It's a Canes broadcast, I guess.
I know, but this is where we're going to talk about this too, because in comparison, there's been some lean times in Calgary.
Yeah, but you can't compare the two, right? Because any Canadian city pretty much wants to have a team. Every Canadian city is in the States, I get it. It's NFL is the big thing. NBA is the big thing. Here, it's NHL. It always has been. It always will be. It's just it's so ingrained in tiny children from such a young age that hockey is part of our culture, that it doesn't matter if the times are lean like they were when Brett Sutter was coaching back in whenever it was, and they called them the Young Guns, the Flames, and we just lost constantly, like a decade. Kind of like in Edmonton, even though, I mean, I'm not a fan of Edmonton, but even though they had their terrible lean times and got 18 first overall picks and couldn't do nothing with them, and they still fill the stands.
Yeah,
everyone still goes because that's, even though it's sort of like being Catholic and punishing yourself, right? You get like a little whip and you hit yourself in the back and say, I'm not worthy.
And that might be the difference there, right? Like in the States,
it's just culture.
In the States, if you want to say something about your team not playing well or whatever, you don't show up. Whereas, I mean, here in Canada, it's a different thing. You'll still go to the games, you still want to see your team, but you'll just be very, very loud, and it's the only topic in town, you know what I mean? Like, that's one thing that I've noticed is that, in the States, football is king, right? And when you look at sports talk or whatever, it's devil of a time to try to get anyone to talk hockey, right? Whereas it's the exact opposite up here. On sports talk in Canada, it's all hockey, it's junior hockey, it's high school hockey, it's like all things hockey. It's a very unique situation for the two. We're gonna just change gears a little bit now. Let's talk about tonight's game. We're gonna take this into the home stretch because I'm doing the talking and interrupting everyone while they're eating. I've got these great wings in front of me. I haven't had a bite. I want to get to them, but we're gonna talk one last thing. This is the last little bit. We're gonna talk about the game tonight, and I'm gonna start with Sean again. The Flames had a very a fantastic offseason. As far as I'm concerned, I thought it was terrific.
It was interesting anyway. I mean,
yeah,
you could look at it both ways. They had some terrible things happen. They had some good things happen. So it was more of I see it as more of a break-even kind of offseason.
Do you really think they broke even? They're not better than they were when they got out of it? What's your?
Well, that's a tough call because I'm watching Tkachuk now and his antics down south, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm kind of glad he's gone in a way because it feels like he's trying too hard. But let's make no mistake, that's the reason they brought him into Florida to try and get probably more attendance and more people talk. Look, the more times other teams hate him, the more people are talking about Florida, right? And so they bring him in to give him a little bit of an edge. Because the guys we brought back, Uyghur and Jonathan, they're not player performers yet either, right? Everyone talks about Goodrow and Tkachuk not being good in the playoffs. Well, neither were they, so we'll have to wait and see this year if and when Calgary makes the playoffs. So, no, I'm not sure yet. I'm hopeful, but it's the addition of Kadri that I think will eventually make the difference. And shipping off Monahan, unfortunately, to Montreal because he's my favorite. And bringing in Kadri is probably the bit of a difference maker, but we still need one more top six right wing, I think, to make any sort of a difference in the playoffs. I don't think we quite have what it takes. Whereas the Canes are, this year, they are primed to go for the cup. I hope they don't, but if they do, they're one of the few teams I don't have a ton of animosity towards because they beat Edmonton for the cup, right? And so right there, I was just probably like you guys, sitting in my chair, edge of my seat, and like cheering my ass off for the Canes. It's like just beat those, and you did. So I was like, good for you.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I guess is that how that works?
But this year, all bets are off again, right?
And so looking into tonight, what are you expecting on the ice as far as the Flames go? Give us.
Sure.
I'm going to make you the coach. Give us the keys that the Flames will need to do to beat the Hurricanes tonight.
Well, the key I think is simple. Right now, Markstrom is struggling, but they put him in anyways. I don't know if I would have. I would have given Darth Blader his first start because he was supposed to be starting at least once a week. I don't think being called in the relief counts as a start. They should have put him in because he's doing well. Markstrom, I know he's got to play it out, but you don't have him play it out against one of the strongest teams in the league right now. So I think that's a mistake. We'll see. Maybe Mark, if he's on fire, the way he was against Dallas in the playoffs, man, you guys are going to lose. It's as simple as that because that was outstanding the way you played. I don't think that's going to happen. The big thing I think is to get Zadorov, one of our big D, to just keep taking Svechnikov out in the corners and just get him off his game. You get him off his game, and then we have a better chance of winning because that kid's on fire.
He is. He absolutely is. And that's, oddly enough, I've got a theory about this. That's going to be one of Svechnikov's duties for the game as well. But LJ, I'm going to turn to you. Give us your take. I would never presume that any of us would take over Rod's job. Okay?
No, not at all.
Because he's so friggin' great. Yes. He's the best coach you could ever ask for. But where are we going tonight? What are you looking for?
So I want to add a little bit beforehand to his point about how he didn't show too much animosity towards the Canes because they beat Edmonton back in 2006. I remember well because I actually called into the local radio station when it was Carolina Edmonton Stanley Cup final. Fan 960 became the official radio station of the Carolina Hurricanes for 2 weeks.
Really?
And when that happened, I had to call in and I gave my input on one of the games that was coming up during the series. So that's just fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I just want to put that out there. For the game, I think it's after watching what happened in the Edmonton game, I saw a lot of undisciplined play, and I understand Edmonton's a very skilled team, but giving up 5 or 6 goals, whatever it was, I don't understand why it was an empty net, but a lot
Two
of that.
technically were an empty net.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, you're right. But they seem to be a little sloppy in their defensive zone. Like even on that power play, that one opportunity that Draisaitl had. Obviously, the guy is an unbelievable finisher, but he was left unchecked in front of the net, like nobody was around him. That's just not characteristic for Hurricane hockey. One of the best penalty killing teams in the league. So I do think Rod probably laid into the team a little bit, and I think he's got a pretty good bounce-back performance tonight. It'll be a lot tighter checking game. And last year, I believe it was a 2-1 Canes victory in overtime, so I expect another low-scoring, maybe 3-2 kind of game, and I'll see how it goes. But I expect them to bounce back with their performance, although Svechnikov was a beast and had the hat-trick, and they did score quite a few goals, but defensively they were a little bit undisciplined, so we'll see if they tighten things up.
Let's hope that continues tonight.
There we go. Shannon, your turn.
No, I think I kind of agree. I think that the Canes really need to get back to their game and be like the hard forechecking team that they are. Control the possession, limit the amount of turnovers they have. They need, Svech and Natchez have both been on fire. Obviously, like that to continue, but you also need to see, Svech and Natchez can't do it every night, so you need to see, Tavo's been a little bit quiet, see him kind of maybe get back into the game, get the flow. and we have, Stahl's line is a great line. They're very good defensively, but they haven't really got on the score sheet yet this year. So to see Stahl and his line to get clicking more besides just being on the defensive side of the puck, and just play with discipline and not create so many chances.
For sure. Marianne, your turn.
I hope to see less Kane's penalties tonight. I'm sure Rod does too. But yeah,
It just play smarter, not so many penalties, not so
Exactly.
many trips to the sin bin where they feel shame.
Apparently they don't. They like to go there a lot.
They need to watch the Slapshot movie and they'll understand about feeling shame. Troy, your turn.
Everything you all said, I agree with.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. Like everything that you said is what I agree.
Yeah,
With like Chatfield, you said that was a surprise.
wasn't it?
Yes, earlier, and I'm like, I want to see more out of Chatfield.
Chatfield has been a great surprise. So quick on the ice. He was great. I know Brad was a big fan of his, and of course, Brad saw the Chicago Wolves. He got first-hand look at why he deserved to be on the pro team, and so there you have it. For me, if I had a comment on that, I'd like to see more out of Paul Stastny. I think his addition, filling in for Nino, has been lackluster. I'll say that. And not terrible, but we need more out of him. And in fact, we watched in the Oiler game where Stastny was removed from the third line and Martinook put up.
The projected lines have that again today.
Yeah, and that may happen again today, of course. And Martinook, I think, is a great fit on that third line. He probably plays a little bit more like Nino than Stastny does, and that might bring some semblance back to what we had on the third line last year. I great want to see Svetch, Turbo, and Aho. I want them to connect a little bit more. I want to see Jarvis get another goal.
Yeah.
Jarvis has been absolutely fantastic. He got poked in the head there in the one game in Seattle by Susi, I think was his name. He a little bit of a high hit, and he saw his minutes go down significantly after that hit. We made a note of it, Brad and I, and I wondered if, after he takes a concussion in the playoffs last year, he gets another shot up around the head.
But if you actually look at the replay, though, the way his knee bent in that, it bent at a funny angle. So, I wonder if he doesn't have a little knee pain going on.
He might, and of course they'll play those cards close to the vest always, right?
Maybe he's just a soft player.
See, this is what we're looking at tonight. This is what I have to sit next to all night tonight. And it's fun, and we enjoy it. It's gonna be
I just call it like I see it.
Oh, yeah.
Jarvis is fearless.
Yeah, he has been great.
He's not soft.
You know what? He's not soft, and moreover, on that first line, I think he creates...
Sorry, I thought you were talking about Apple.
see there.
Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah, there we go. Here we go. This is what I have to deal with. I think he's the guy that actually, because he's so hard in the forecheck and stuff like that he could make a lot more room for Turbo and Aho to do their magic. Like, he doesn't mind going to the front of the net, the dirty areas where you can get those rebounds and stuff. I love Jarvis's play.
He's super quick too.
He is very
so
fast, isn't he? It's great. It's gonna be a great night tonight. It's already a great night. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us. Toy, Marianne, Shannon, Carter, LJ, who's been with us before, and even this jerk cheers for the Flames. Sean, thank you very much for joining us. We've had a great night. I think this is a great start. I don't know how it's going to end tonight, but one thing I can say for sure, it's going to be an entertaining game. I think that's to say the very least. You get two great teams together, everyone wins.
Well, yeah, two teams coming off bad losses too.
Exactly,
Those
that's
are
a
something
great
to prove.
point. Lots of stuff to prove. There it is, Brad. Our first round table ever. Very, very happy to have been a part of it, and more to come. Stick around. There is really. I'll save that. I was just going to say, go Canes.
Okay.
Ray, good to have you in studio. Very glad that you got to meet some Caniacs, that they actually got to put a face with a name by coming to Calgary. They brought the snow with them, it sounds like. How was it? Did you have a good time?
Look, the round table was absolutely fantastic. It's everything. When you and I talked about preparations and having a round table, it was, we looked at it as the idea of getting everyone in on Zoom, but there's something about sitting across a table from other fans, and it was fantastic. And there was some gentle barbs from my friend Sean, or Sean, he took a few shots at me, I took a few shots at him, and it's the rivalry going. I'll tell you what, it was just fantastic. I was so happy. Toy, Marianne, Shannon, LJ, and his son Carter, just great guests. Sean too. I mean, it was so much fun. A great meal, and it was a great preamble to the
Awesome.
contest. So it was fantastic. And thank you again for joining us. They certainly made this crazy idea that I had in my head come to fruition, and it worked out great. So I loved
That's
it.
awesome.
I loved it.
Did
We
Shannon
got to
get
do it again.
poutine?
She did not. She stayed away from the poutine, and I asked, but see, here's the problem. She's a vegetarian. And
Oh.
so right away, poutine kind of drops off the list. You know what I mean? Like, I suppose you could get vegan cheese curds, but the gravy is still something, like
Yeah.
it's just not going to work out.
And honestly, when I think poutine, I think Canada, but I specifically think Quebec, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's great fishing in Quebec, and there's poutine. I don't know. I always group those two things together in my mind.
Yeah.
But it's big all over Canada, I assume. I never
No
think of it that
question
way.
it is. There's a great place just down the road, just north of us in Canmore, that has fantastic poutine. They also have too many Montreal Canadian, memorabilia on their walls as well, right? But we'll
Nothing new.
let that go. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Nothing new at all. It was fantastic. We had so much fun. We got to the rink in the pregame skate. I gotta tell you, these Hurricanes, they're amazing. All of them. Even when they're focused on, like, they're warming up, getting into game mode, right? They're they've got an eye. You can see them every now and again. They take a little peek over the glass, and they see the kids lined up, and they see the larger kids like me there, and
Yeah.
they'll tap on this. They tap their sticks on the boards, right? Let you know, hey, thanks, you're here. You know what I mean? And we got a few of those, which was great.
Isn't that a great
And
feeling?
it is. It's great. They know and appreciate you. They're acknowledging your
Right.
presence, right? It's fantastic. And Burnsy, he gave away 4 pucks. I was like, every time he did, I'm like, that a boy, Burnsy. You know what I mean? Like, that's fantastic. I love seeing that.
You gave Calgary
And
a couple too.
yeah, well, yeah, maybe a little.
Sorry, Bernsey.
We'll get into that, but Svetch did it, Jarvie did it, Fishy did it. I mean, it was great. It was just seeing that interaction is awesome.
It's such a small thing, but it makes you feel really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the
When-
kids loved it.
When I was front row at Boston Garden and Cam Ward, won the game, and he gets hugs and everything. He comes by. I'm sitting like just to the left of the goal where
Yeah.
he was defending twice. He comes over, little fist bump on the glass and skates off the ice. But meant the world to me, right? I mean,
does mean a
it's such
lot,
a small
doesn't it?
gesture, and he does it, 60, 70, times a year. But it was one of those things that it makes you feel. And I saw pictures. Looks like Svet signed some pucks maybe for a couple of the kids that were with the group maybe, and some Caniacs. So yeah, what a good group of guys as far as everything that we
is.
see and just the attitudes, like the a lot of positive vibes coming out of our locker room, which we don't see league wide necessarily. Like, very excited to see those kinds of things.
It is. And so it was just outstanding. As far as the game goes, they were shot out of a cannon. They were just on fire right away. Fishy, that move to the net. I did this in the tweet. I don't know if it's worth it, but he opened up Markstrom like a can of sea bass. See what I did there?
I see.
Like that? Yeah. Yeah, he opened him up and it was the quickness when you could see above the head of the Calgary defender. Oh crap. Yeah, like that, where there was that
Right.
moment where it was like, oh crap. And he made that cut to the net, and Markstrom just no chance, right? It was fantastic.
Fishy is a better hockey player on his knees than I am with,
Yeah,
on my
just
best day.
stunning how quick he is. And Dahan gets his goal, and I'm thinking, all right, we're cruising. This is what we want. And then a tough penalty, and again, the goal, the penalty kill is nowhere near what it was last season, and it's certainly, you can see where it needs work. You know what I mean? Like, not winning as many draws, and just the puck is being moved around quickly, right? And they're just not getting into the lanes,
Mhm.
and you're giving up a lot of power play goals, I think, and it's going to burn
It
you.
feels that way. I don't think, so I missed the Edmonton game. It's my son's birthday week. We were at Legoland, New York. I saw
Nice.
Svet score his first goal. I saw the shorty and went to bed because we were exhausted.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, but yeah, when I looked at last night, and we've seen social media, the Hurricanes took off the middle period, right?
They totally did.
It was just brutal. That was awful to watch. I
The-
can't believe that it was still, tied, going into the third. It was just ugly.
The first minute and 45 seconds, entirely the Flames in their offensive zone. It was unbelievable, the pressure that they put on. How they didn't allow a goal immediately in there was, and it just went downhill from there.
The fact they only allowed one goal in that second period is shocking to me a little bit.
It is shocking.
Because when Johnny Hockey says he's leaving Calgary, it's like, yeah, they're kind of screwed. Then they pick up they get the trade in, they pick up Huberdeau and Weegar. Then they pick up Kadri, who, that first penalty was a joke. If you saw the replay,
yeah,
that's a gold medal dive for Canada right there.
Yeah, you go. Yeah,
but even with an 0 for 4 power play, which that double minor at the end that power play looked just
horrendous.
Something has to change. But it's not I'm not a doom and gloomer. It's just we're seeing some of the same issues. And the power play, I think, is 12th in the league. So it's not all bad. But, Calgary is like the Hurricanes, right? They're probably a top 6 team in the league. And even taking off that middle frame, you took them to overtime and came out with a point, right? 5 games into the season, you're 3-1-1. You got 7 out of 10 points to start the season, including a 5-game road trip with Vancouver coming up. That's not a bad way to start the season at all. Like, I'm not worried.
I am not worried at all either. I mean, this was a very early in the season measuring stick, which is exactly what we said it would be. It's a real test to see what you're looking at and what you're dealing with when you have a team that has the firepower and talent of the Oilers, right? And then the overall talent and skill and really a mimicking type. The Flames play a very similar game to what the Canes do. And
I was going to say, this is a mirror match.
It is. It makes sense that it went to overtime.
Yeah.
And Markstrom made some tremendous saves I'll tell you this: there are at least three. Jarvis had 2 glorious chances. Turbo was robbed. I mean, there were some great opportunities.
Yeah,
So
Stepan had an open look, and then the goal that they took
whiff,
back. That's the rule, and I get it. But when play's been going on for 15 or 20 seconds,
and they go back to call it.
there should be right. There should be some kind of a discretion in there. Once the play is set up, or once 10 seconds have elapsed, because at that point the offsides is irrelevant. You know what I
Right.
mean?
You know,
Like that offsides had nothing to do with that goal being scored. Absolutely
no,
nothing. That's a
it
technicality.
was very much earlier in the play than when the goal came. On the same respect, though, that very call has been we've seen dozens of times.
Yeah, at least they're consistent for once,
Yeah,
right?
they're consistent. Exactly. They've actually gotten it right. And you got to give credit to the video coach who caught it and called it down. And it was clearly offside. I mean, there was no question about it. It was great that they scored, but man, and Stepan, you know, he'll be having honestly nightmares because Jordan Stahl set him up beautifully on that 2-on-1 on the penalty kill, and it was a wide open net. There was no
It
chance, and
really
it
was.
just he
It
laid it
was
out.
22 square feet there, right?
He just whiffed. I don't know if it whiffed.
90% of it.
Yeah, it was. He'll
And
be.
this is one of those games that inches, like either team could have won, either team played great.
Mhm.
The second goal Ronta lets in he was cheating, but come on, I mean that thing just had eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
well,
like the Trocheck goal I think it was against New York last year. Like that's just one of those like
yeah,
95% of the time that doesn't go in. It bounces off a pad and it's out there. And
yeah.
just one time it sneaks through and it's in. Like what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I made a joke about how they gave Dubé and Kadri assists on the Richie goal from that shot, and really the only assist should have been given to Ronta because he just
Right?
a millisecond of concentration lost or cheating, like you said, uh, and the thing was he has like a sixth sense. Ronta does. I'm going to give him credit for this because there was a flame going to the back door, and that's why he cheated, because he could sense the flame coming in on the backside, who was unguarded. If that puck goes all the way across, it may have been a goal anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you know what I'm
He
saying?
did.
Like,
I think he did the right thing. It's just in my mind, it was fluky enough that normally
yeah,
doesn't go in. It just happened to hit the right
it
spot.
just
Just
happened to hit the right spot. But you know what? Like, all in all, uh, it was a very entertaining game. And like I said, you take that second period out and they look good. There are a couple of guys that I want to see more out of. I think Turbo had probably his best game of the season with Aho,
Yeah.
because they were a
He
threat.
still looks off to me, but he looks better. He looked kind of not nearly as good the first couple games, but last night I thought they were more in sync, and I
Yeah,
think that's just time, right? We're 5 games in.
and it's so early. Yeah, I don't want, like, that's the funny thing, right? It's the emotion tied to fans for their teams, right? And you start out the season, you know, 3-0, and you're feeling on top of the world. You're playing great. You're doing well. And this isn't last year. Last year we went 9-0, right? But we didn't have the West Coast trip in the middle of that either. Like, the West Coast trips are difficult.
They
They
are.
are,
I think we did though, because so the West Coast trip, you may or may not realize because you're not in Raleigh. So you have the North Carolina State Fair the first 3 weeks of October.
oh, that's
You
right.
have
I've
NC
heard about
State
this.
basketball at PNC, and I went one year to the triple header, NC State, State Fair, and Hurricanes game all the same day, And that was the last year that they did that, because after that they were like, nope, too many
Are you
people.
kidding?
Oh, it was brutal.
Holy.
I mean, I don't know how many people were there total, but there was nowhere to park for the state fair. There was nowhere to park for so for Hurricanes and NC State, it's the same parking lots at PNC. You got to get people so that's why the West Coast trip happens every year in October.
Right.
Is to alleviate that congestion. And that trifecta was a long day. It was a lot of fun, but that's a once in a lifetime thing.
Sure.
So, but yeah, the 9-0, no, that's a fluky start. I mean, best start in team history, one of the best starts in league history.
Yeah.
The start we have, I think, is a good one.
Yeah.
You know who's been sneaky good, and they are the Calgary stick of the game, which you're going to hear about this live because I just kind of choose it. Stefan Noesen.
Noesen's great.
4 assists in 4 games. He's averaging a point per game. Did you know he's averaging a point per game? I didn't.
I
like he just sneaky.
Very sneaky. And he's they've put him on the power play, which I think is smart. He's got something that he's got something that you just can't identify yet. Like I was trying to keep an eye out for him, but I'll tell you this. I noticed him on the ice way more than someone like Paul Stastny.
Same. And I was going, okay, I think that's like his second point of the year. And he's the one. I make my money 6 feet from, within 6 feet of the net.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked it up this morning. I'm like, I didn't really see, like, there was no obvious stick of the game, right?
Right.
Foreshadowing, Svechnikov probably got it for Edmonton. There's no, this is clearly this. So I'm kind of going through, I'm like, who's sneaky? And I'm like, like, Noesen was kind of like in all the right positions, right? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he got an assist. I looked it up. He did. He got the assist on DeHaan's goal.
Yep.
I said, okay, maybe him. I said, maybe Chatfield. I thought Chatfield has been
absolutely
excellent every game that we've seen him. Chatfield has done all the right things. And then I said, well, I'm just going to go look real quick and just see, is that Noesen's first point of the year as I'm making up the infographic? And it's like 4 assists. And I'm like, I thought I kind of thought he had 2, but he has like he's averaging a point per game right now. And it sneaks up on you because nobody's talking about it that I'm aware of. So we're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want out of those guys. It's it's kind of like when Jordan Staal gets points. It's not what he's there for, but when he does it, you don't really realize, like, oh wow, he's got points all of a sudden. So, and I thought overall, not a great game, not a terrible game, but you hung in with one of the top teams in the league despite not playing 20 of those 65 minutes.
And both teams coming off of losses. 2 undefeated teams who lost the same night, coming off losses to face each other. And I want to circle back on Chatfield.
Please.
Wow. That man has wheels. Great wheels. I saw him cut off at, like, where there were moments where the Flames were looking like they were sweeping in on the wing and they were going to have a direct line. And Chatfield just all of a sudden out of nowhere, boom, he's there. It's like he teleported to the spot. That's how fast he was.
He's not as fast as Natchez, but he's quick. And
holy cow.
Having only really watched the Wolves for 2/3 of a season last year, but having gotten to see Chatfield play in person, I was like, this kid has, in my opinion, what it takes to. And the thing that I focused on in the Calder Cup finals was not just his speed, but because of his speed, if he's out of position, he can get himself back into position.
Yeah.
And he plays, he jumps in at the right time, he pinches at the right time, he stays back at the right times. Like he's really intelligent, and has really good hockey sense for such a young player. So
yeah,
I mean, to be in your early 20s and to do the things that he's able to do, I just thought was phenomenal. And he's fit right in.
I gotta tell you,
Bear would have to be, as much as I like Ethan Bear real quick, Bear would have to have a career year to supplant Chatfield.
Definitely.
And then you still got to get through Coughlin and DeHaan.
Yeah. I gotta say, with Carolina now in Vancouver, where there is a full-blown panic on that squad, where there is nothing going right, I'm wondering if Don won't be having a person-to-person tete-a-tete and discussing perhaps a deal. Hey, you guys might need some D over here. We might be able to help you out. It would not surprise me if there was a little bit of discussion where the team swings in and leaves one behind and takes someone with them.
I was thinking the same thing because there have been rumors for a few weeks that was potentially the trading partner, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no better time to do it. Don's not going to trade from a position of weakness, but he's gone on record and being like, we don't have a cap problem. We can keep everybody. We're fine. So I don't think he would do that, but it makes sense. And the poor Vancouver fans, I at times I feel bad for Vancouver because it's been 50 years, right? They're one of the old franchises without a cup.
Yep.
But then I see like their fans are lighting jerseys on fire last night on Twitter and TikTok or whatever, and like I'm like, it's 5 games in, y'all.
It is 5 games in, but understand, there's a couple of things there. I feel for the Vancouver and the emotion will get you, but look, of those 5 games, 4 of them they held leads and they couldn't bring it home. Like they just could not finish it. And last night, Buffalo just punked them. And I'll take a note right now. We're going to mark the tape. Buffalo. That is going to be a test. They look fantastic. They just made mincemeat of the Oilers, the Flames, and Vancouver. They just walk in.
They're just making people mad before we play.
Yeah.
They're just embarrassing teams, and then now go play the Canes. We're like, thanks, appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly, right. And this Vancouver's in a strange spot right now. So for everyone who's concerned and freaking out for our beloved Canes, guys, it could always be worse. You could be a Vancouver Canuck fan where they have serious issues that they need to figure out. And yes, it's only 5 games in. The problem is, and what we've always said, and you hear this is one of those sayings that you hear all the time. You don't win a championship in the first month of the season. You can certainly lose your opportunity to win it, though. You know what I mean? And if they continue on this track that they're on and don't get it straight, they're going to be chasing everyone in the standings all season long. And the Hurricanes, they have to go in, and you can bet that they're going to have a Vancouver squad that is fired up, desperate for a win, and that is dangerous. That is very, very dangerous.
This is the Vancouver game is a step up test for the Hurricanes, right? Because Vancouver's got a .167 points percentage. They're the only team worse than them in the league is the Sharks.
Yeah.
And then you have, I think it's Arizona, and then you have maybe even Anaheim, I think, before you get into the East at all with Columbus. So that West is brutal, and they're amongst the worst of the worst in the league.
Yeah.
And for 2 seconds, Philadelphia is
where they come from
4-1. Holy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to last because I'm not a fan of Torts as a coach in general.
I was going to ask you if you thought it was Torts.
I think it is, but a lot like Laviolette's stay in Carolina. He pushes guys hard. He expects a lot. and then guys tune him out quicker than not. I
Right.
don't think that this Philly run is going to last. But I'm really happy for folks like, Samantha Weismer, who are Philadelphia fans, that
Mm.
at least there's some positive this season. Same thing with the Buffalo fans. Andrea from the Czech Republic is a, we talked, we know her on Twitter. Fan of the Buffalo. I like seeing, for the most part, all the fan bases at least have some success. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable, but I am happy to see that, at least they've come out of the gate and played well. We don't have a lot of time today because of the segment that you did. I did not watch the Edmonton game. Like I said, I saw the Setch goal. I saw the
Mhm.
shorty, which as soon as I said that, I always say, if you don't score on a 5-1-3 or you give up a shorty, probably don't deserve to win. That happened, although it sounds like they played better than maybe I realized they might have. I was just exhausted. What are your thoughts quickly about the Edmonton game for folks like me who didn't get to watch? I mean, I've seen the highlights, but what was your overall impression? Like, what wasn't in the highlights?
Sloppy, undisciplined, a game they probably should have won because Freddie was uncharacteristically soft, gave up a couple of goals, and as was noted in the roundtable, Freddie, the Hurricanes gave up 2 empty net goals that game. One much earlier than it ever should have been, and he was not Freddie Anderson that night, and especially not Freddie Anderson when you go back into his record against the Oilers, which was, I think, 17-1-2. Like, that's an amazing. He just owned the Oilers, and that night was not one of them. Now, Svechnikov, wow, his hat trick was beautiful, and the execution on their power play, it was 2 for 4 that night, and which is probably why we're 12th, because when you get 50% on your power play, it was great. But that shorty given up, oh, killer.
That was ugly.
It's just a killer. And again, it was frustrating to watch. But I'll say this. I losing that game and losing last night, it stunk, but there's no panic button to push, because you just see the talent that we have. And with a few minor changes and a right and tight goaltending, we're going to be fine. We're going to be absolutely fine.
Yep.
Now, look, if we look at the goaltending and it remains soft, where we cannot afford to constantly give up free goals. You know what I mean? Like the weak ones or the lucky ones, the fluky ones. That has to stop. We stopped that. We win last night, and we certainly win in Edmonton, right? So
I
that's
think
that was my take.
Our bottom 6 guys need to fill in, right?
Yeah.
The team leader on points is Svechnikov. Then you have Aho and Natchez.
Yep.
After that, you got, Noesen and Burns, and then Jarvis and Kotkaniemi. So top 6 guys, in my opinion, are doing their job.
Yep.
Right. Burns sneakily kind of, I think, has 3 assists on the year, which is nice.
Yeah.
Showing that, and I love the fact that he's just willing to just boom it at the net, right? Just take a big slapper, see what works out. We talked about, Tavo feels like he's coming around, maybe just needs to, get the legs under him a little more. Stastny, I thought, looked better on the 4th line last night than he has last few games.
No
I thought
question.
Switching Martinick to the 3rd line worked pretty well, in my opinion.
It did.
Fost and Stahl both have no points thus far in the year, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Their job is shut down, but it would be nice to start getting a little more production from that bottom 6.
Yeah, and recall last season where we got out to such that really hot start, Fost was in on a lot of points early on. And that was, and that's one of the key when you're getting that production from the lower lines, you're always going to be a little bit better off, more formidable, and especially with the lineup that the Hurricanes have. No question.
And Andre Kasha, I haven't heard anything new on him other than he's, not going to be available for the rest of the road trip. Obviously, they're not going to just fly him out to Vancouver for the game.
Probably not.
I'd
No.
love to hear what's going on with him. I don't think we even know what happened still.
No.
But that's another guy who can put points on the board for you.
Yep.
So it's like my fantasy team. Like I only have a couple injuries, but they're killing me right now.
Yeah, sure. And that's injuries in the wrong spot, right?
And speaking of Vancouver, I had to drop Thatcher Demko from my fantasy team.
Holy!
In 2 days, he cost me 14 points, and I think I lost the week by 11 points. So thanks, Thatcher. Appreciate you just being a sieve, my man.
There was so much talk about his. There was a lot of hype. There were a lot of people really pushing him as being one of the goaltenders to watch. Our Vancouver fans will tell you, no, we don't want to watch any more of that. Because wow, that's a struggle to be sure.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing week. The episode, the round table, like I said, we talked about it, brought to fruition, and it worked out great. It worked out great. We had so much fun. Looking ahead, we've got Vancouver, and then they return home. Is that right? Or it's Vancouver, and then they return home. A little home cooking will do them well. Of course, there's always concern that first game when you come back after a long trip like this one. That first game back can be, everyone getting your bearings right. So Canes, I mean, we're going to be all right. There's no need to push a panic button, but you know what? Let's have the win in Vancouver. Keep them down. Win the games that you can. Get out there and get it done, and then go home and have the Caniacs give you the fuel that you need to get to that next level. And the Caniacs will certainly do that.
100%. We play Vancouver, come home to play the Islanders, then go to Philadelphia, which might be an interesting match. I think that'll give us a good idea of where Philly's at.
Really?
And then back home Halloween night for the Capitals. So it's going to be a good end to the month. Those are 3 winnable games.
Yep.
For sure. And then the next big one to me is there's the second week of November is kind of a rough week. You have Toronto coming into town on Sunday.
Ooh.
You go to Florida on Wednesday to face Paul Maurice and Eric Stahl, who has signed a 1-year deal.
Not tip of the cap to him.
Yeah. Then back home for the Oilers, back half of a back-to-back on the 10th against the Oilers. And then you have the reigning Cup champs in Colorado on the 12th. So that's going to be a solid week. And then you turn around and play them again on the 17th at home. So that middle of November schedule looks really rough. It eases, in my opinion, up a little bit, maybe toward the end of November. Winnipeg, Coyotes, Bruins, Calgary, and Pitt, who are both playing really well. But
just as a quick side note, it was I thought I had heard someone saying they had done an interview with Coach Brindamore, and this West Coast trip was so spread out. He was like, you know what, the too many days off kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it was long, it was whatever. You probably would have preferred to have maybe another game stuck in there, somewhere, right? And maybe a trip to Colorado, whatever. But he was like, too much time off. So when you play more games, it's easy to stay on your path, right? You know what I mean? It just had too much relaxation in between.
You want guys like Svechnikov and Nate just to keep rolling, right?
Yeah.
You don't want the time off. Like, they're playing really well. Like, you want to keep throwing them out there. So
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
when they're hot, no question.
that's why we play
What a
the games.
indeed great episode today. Thanks again to all of the guests again, Shannon, Marianne, okay, and who every game she sees is like an away game. 8 hours of travel, 4 in and 4 out for every game she sees from South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, that's a
Unbelievable.
hike.
Marianne, holy cow. Just
Congrats to you. Wow.
indeed. And Shannon 18 and counting. She's gonna see her 19th game. She's trying to do the whole league, and good on her. Toy was like I think 5 behind her. Just doing great. I love this. These are Caniacs. The very definition.
If
It was
only we had
so much fun.
fans, Ray. If only we
Yeah,
had people
I
who
know.
cared about
How
hockey
many?
in Raleigh.
Yeah. Ugh.
Because people often make an 8-hour round trip for something that they don't really, love with all their heart.
Yeah, exactly. Unbelievable. So it was so great to meet them. We had a great time, great episode. Talked about some tough games, but it's you know what? Everyone step back off the ledge. We're gonna be just fine. With all of that said, is there anything else more to say?
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.